Straight ahead on 12 News, an unthinkable tragedy.
7 children die of SIDS per day in the United States.
How a Brooklyn Center lawmaker aims to change that. Then preparing for an emergency, the Osseo High School classroom with real life-saving lessons. But first, a principal facing suspension and a superintendent on leave and under investigation. 12 News starts right now. A program set up to help integrate black and white students is under fire for the actions of its leaders. Hello, I'm Alexandra Renslow.
And I'm Mike Johnson. The West Metro Education Program involves the fair schools in Crystal and Minneapolis, but now the program is going through some turmoil. More than 1,000 students attend the two schools. It's run by school board members from 11 school districts, including Brooklyn Center, Robbinsdale, Wayzata, and Hopkins. And the program superintendent is on paid leave, has been since January, while a complaint against him is being investigated. And the principal of the fair schools, Kevin Bennett, will serve a 2-day suspension. A school board member tells us he failed to report an incident between a staff member and a guest at an open house. She says he also allowed an employee to use sick days when Bennett shouldn't have. And the board member says Bennett socialized with subordinates in a way that could put the district at risk of liability. Kevin Bennett was named the 2012 Middle School Principal of the Year in Minnesota. He reportedly says the allegations against him are unfounded, but neither he nor his attorney immediately returned our calls.
A lawsuit has been filed against a Brooklyn Park police officer for allegedly using excessive force. The suit was filed by 33-year-old Amos Togbeson, who was taken to the Brooklyn Park Police Department for driving under the influence. According to the lawsuit, a handcuffed Togbeson needed to urinate but wasn't allowed. He was subsequently taken to the ground for allegedly not following the officer's orders. The suit says Togbeson's head hit the floor and he needed hospital treatment. The officer is identified as Michael Roble. He was hired by Brooklyn Park in 2007. The suit against Roble seeks damages of more than $500,000.
Crystal police have sharpened their lookout for drunken drivers, and it's paying off. Police say officers have been working hard to make streets safer with more traffic stops. As a result, Mothers Against Drunk Driving gave the department an award for Outstanding Law Enforcement Agency for dedication to DWI enforcement and education. In the last 5 years, Crystal's DWI arrests have more than doubled, and they're working closely with bars in the area to change the acceptance level of drinking and driving.
Stop at our bars and do bar checks and talk with our bartenders and bar owners and creating more of a presence at our local businesses so that they know it's important to us.
Crystal arrested 259 drunken drivers last year, and police say they will be out in force over St. Patrick's Day weekend.
It is Budget for a Better Minnesota, Take 2. Governor Dayton released a second version of his budget plan today. This one scraps expanding the sales tax to business and consumer services. Dayton's plan did maintain a tax increase on the state's wealthiest 2%. Also included in the governor's plan is an increase in the cigarette tax, something the governor previously opposed. The tax on a pack of cigarettes would increase to 94 cents. The governor opted to redo his budget plan after new economic numbers shrunk the state's deficit by nearly $500 million. Every day in the United States, 7 babies die from sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS.
It's a horrific event that researchers haven't fully figured out how to eliminate, but there are methods to reduce the risk of SIDS. And as Delane Cleveland reports, a bill introduced in this year's legislative session could give daycare providers the power to use one of those methods.
Caring for children that aren't your own can be quite the challenge. But for Michelle Wilson, it's a way of life.
So most of them sleep in a sleep sack.
She's the center director at Especially for Children Daycare.
I typically have a capacity between 60 and 70.
The children range in the age from 6 weeks to the 3rd grade. And when it comes to nap time, Wilson says they have a strict policy to lay babies on their backs.
7 children die of SIDS per day in the United States. And sleeping a child on their back lowers that risk significantly.
Yet according to a Minnesota law passed last year, if a parent were to write a letter saying they want their baby sleeping in an alternate position, Many child care providers would have to honor that request.
If it isn't part of your policies and mom was to write a note and you slept baby on their belly and horrible things happen and baby died of SIDS, you're closed down, there's an investigation, you lose your parents, and it's not a quick process.
And since then, we continue to have sudden infant death cases.
Senator Chris Eaton wants that to change. So she's sponsored a bill that would require a doctor's note before a daycare provider can flip a baby over on its belly.
We think this is worth saving a few lives. It's a pretty simple thing.
The bill would also reduce the liability risk for daycare providers.
Definitely.
However, opponents have raised concerns that the provision would take away parental rights. Ask Wilson, and she says it's all in the name of safety.
Our intent is to create another form of security for those children.
Delane Cleveland, 12 News.
Legislators approved Senator Eaton's bill in committee. Next, it heads to the Senate floor, where lawmakers will debate it sometime in April.
He speaks fluent Spanish, comes from a working class background, and loves soccer. Those are just a few things we're learning about Pope Francis, the first ever pontiff from Latin America, where 40% of the world's Catholics reside. Pope Francis is also the first Jesuit, an order of priests committed to social outreach. At Church of St. Raphael in Crystal, parishioners reflected on the historical pick for the Catholic faith. While some were surprised a younger pontiff wasn't chosen, there was still excitement and optimism.
We have a very humble, simple man who will lead the whole church to holiness, and that's what we need at this time of the age. So very, very excited.
It's also nice that we have a Pope from South America. We haven't seen one of those before. And especially take the name Francis, and I think the Italian people love him for that.
Pope Francis's family emigrated from Italy to Argentina. St. Francis of Assisi is also a patron saint of Italy. Still ahead, the program at Osseo High School that could prove to be a lifesaver.
Then later in sports, a local adapted floor hockey team is hoping to add to an impressive string of championships.
But first, it's a look at your AccuWeather forecast. Everyone at Osseo Junior High today saw red, and we mean that literally.
The Red Out was to support the American Heart Association and to encourage heart-healthy habits like exercise. Okay, they're moving. What better way to get students moving than with the newest dance craze, the Harlem Shake? The DJ during lunch was just one part of the special day at Osseo Junior High. Students could also buy red t-shirts to wear and learn more heart-healthy facts from the American Heart Association.
I hope they learn that it's fun to do something good and to go out into the community and do community service, and that just really educate themselves on heart disease and how that they can live lives healthier so that they're not affected.
Activities continued after school with a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and with all profits benefiting the American Heart Association. Well, if you are in trouble, having a student from Osseo nearby could be a good thing.
That's right. The school's Health Science Magnet program teaches students emergency medical care. Reporter Shannon Slatton explains how the students recently earned state recognition for their life-saving skills.
Can you stand up for us? You could almost say teacher Gary Leafblad's students are killing him. In fact, today, Mr. Leafblad will have his 51st planned heart attack.
It's coordinating. What do you need? What do you do? Can you think on your feet?
This band on my chest just radiates, hurts.
He's the guinea pig here for students to learn how to respond to medical emergencies.
The kid goes through my program. They've got all these certifications, which is one good thing. Secondly is they've probably got about 50 hours of volunteer under their belt.
Osseo juniors and seniors in this 2-year program are prepared to take the test to be an emergency medical responder when they turn 18.
I think the confidence that these kids come out with, they're excited. I always say that the thing that OEC does, it gives them direction. It gives them an idea where I want to go.
Students here are confident they are heading in the right direction since they recently placed first in a state emergency responder competition.
We were shocked at first, but I don't know, I worked so hard for it, so I was so happy.
Besides learning here in the classroom,
is your pain getting any better?
They volunteer with real EMTs at school events.
Is that oxygen working okay?
So when it's time to put their life-saving skills to the test, they'll be ready.
It's overwhelming at first, but as soon as you keep practicing and practicing, it's just like natural habit to us.
In Osseo, Shannon Slatton, 12 News.
Some students are also practicing to go to the national competition this June in Boise, Idaho. That teacher deserves an acting award, I think, too.
Does a good job.
Coming up, a standout student who's done a lot more than just land on her feet.
But first in sports, highlights from Providence Academy's opening game of the state girls basketball tournament. Jay Wilcox has that and more when we come back. Jay Wilcox now with sports. This time of year just gets better and better if you love basketball. And so far so good for Providence Academy at the girls tournament.
That's right. It wasn't necessarily the highest scoring game in the history, but definitely a good performance for them. The Providence Academy girls basketball team won the state Class 2A title last season. The Lions are looking to repeat, and they open defense of their title against Pine Island Wednesday. Providence is in white. They're down 10-6 when Leah Zabla bombs home a long three and gets fouled. Her 4-point play ties it 10-10. She scores 19 in the game. Zabla swings it to Natalie Ratliff, and she lines up another three to make it 16-10. Providence leads a low-scoring game 18-12 at halftime. They're very patient waiting for a defensive lapse. Taylor Finley misses the layup, but Mackenzie Murtha is there for the putback plus a foul. Pine Island is held to 10 points in the second half. They get a nice hoop here from Maddie Shelton, plus a foul to bring them within 8 at 27-19. Providence hits free throws to win at 33-22. The Lions move into Friday night's semifinals. And Friday will be a big night for boys basketball teams in the area. Section titles will be decided in 3 sections involving local squads. That's highlighted by Osseo versus Park Center for the Section 5 4A championship. The teams split 2 regular season meetings this season. The Orioles and Pirates meet at 7 o'clock Friday at Rogers High School. And our 12 Sports game crew will be on hand. You can watch that one Saturday morning at 9, Saturday night at 11, and Sunday night at 8:30. Section 4A is also a matchup of 2 local teams. West Lutheran of Plymouth meets Maranatha Christian Academy of Brooklyn Park for the title. Maranatha won both regular season matchups against West Lutheran. They play at 5:45 Friday at McAllister. That's followed by Breck meeting Minnehaha Academy for the Section 4 2A title at 8:15. Breck lost a close one to Minnehaha in their regular season meeting. It's state tournament week in adapted floor hockey. The Robins, representing Robbinsdale, Hopkins, and Mound Westonka schools, look to continue a dynasty in the PI division. The Robins enter the tournament with a 13-0 record this season, and they're the top seed from the North Conference. They've won 2 straight and 3 of the last 4 state titles in floor hockey, while also winning 5 consecutive soccer titles and 4 in softball. They're ready to aim at another championship after a good regular season.
I think we did above expectations, being that we lost our sweeper last year, I think it was, and not really knowing who's going to fill that spot. And it's been a really good season so far.
Yeah, it kind of does put pressure, but it puts pressure on us. Are we going to win this year, be better than the last team, or are we going to be worse than the other team? It's like that competitiveness towards our other teams in the past.
The Robins have outscored their opponents 114-15 this season, so they're definitely the team to beat. They do know a few teams that could give them a good challenge.
We've seen pretty much all the teams this year. I would say Dakota's probably going to be the one that we'll ultimately match up with if we can get to a state championship match. On the semifinal side, both Brainerd and South Suburban are good, tough teams, so they'd be a good matchup as well. We played Dakota in a preseason tournament and had a great game with them, so we're pretty evenly matched there as well. But we're just looking forward to a fun weekend.
The tournament gets started Friday at Bloomington Jefferson. The Robins open up against Rochester at 5 o'clock. Anoka Hennepin plays St. Paul Highland Park at 6:30. Wayzata Minnetonka, the 4th seed from the North Division, meets Dakota United at 6:30. Anoka Hennepin is the 3-time defending champ in the CI Division. They're the number 3 seed from the North and open play against Dakota United at 6:30 Friday evening. Maple Grove, the 4th seed in the North, meets New Prague in the quarterfinals. The semifinals and finals are Saturday at Jefferson High School, and the Robins proving to be really tough to beat, whether it's in the fall, winter, or spring.
Great. Thanks a lot, Jay.
You bet.
Still ahead, a Maple Grove 6th grader who's about as graceful a student as you'll find.
We'll meet her in just a moment. There's nothing typical about this week's Standout student.
For starters, this Maple Grove 6th grader spends 20 hours a week working towards the ultimate dream of making it to the Olympics. 11-year-old Haley Briesch must balance school and skating, though, in order to do so. It's 9:30 on a school morning.
Nice.
11-year-old Haley Briesch is gliding across the ice and studying skating with her coach Tom in Cantaloupe.
All right, so there you go. Short of rotation.
Life is a balancing act for this Maple Grove 6th grader. 6 days a week, mornings are filled with skating and analyzing jumps.
Write each ratio in 3 ways.
Before she analyzes some math as a student at the online public school Connections Academy.
I wake up and I skate till 11 or 12 every day. Then I go home, eat lunch, and then I do school till dinner.
I saw lots of potential in Haley, yeah, and she's so easy to work with, which makes it that much more fun.
Haley made the switch to online school about a year ago after deciding she wanted to devote more hours to skating under the guidance of her new coach,
Feel a circle.
a former U.S. national competitor himself.
She really keeps everything balanced.
Please welcome Haley Grant. In October, Haley took home a regional championship at her level. She outscored 58 other challengers in the competition.
2 equivalent ratios can be written as a proportion.
Driven and focused, Haley has clear goals when it comes to school and skating.
Right now, my overall grade is an 87%. So I'm trying to work that up to get a 90%.
On the ice, Haley's sights are set on landing the tricky double axel and making it to regionals, and maybe someday even the Olympics.
As a coach, I always try to do it 1 year at a time. Of course, I want them to dream big. I want them to have those dreams. It's what they're pushing for.
In addition to her hours on the ice, Haley also does off-ice training that includes Pilates and dance. A lot of time devoted to skating, but she's done it since she's 6, and it's her passion.
That's good. Lots of dedication.
What she wants to do. That's right. That does it for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Community Corner is coming up next. We'll see you again tomorrow.